Mohamed Osman, who joins me on the line from Berlin. He's a researcher at Human Rights Watch's Africa division. Appreciate you taking the time to come on, Mohamed. The reports I just mentioned there of sexual violence against women and young girls, they sound like the sort of acts that you might have read about from mankind centuries in the past. Is there no law and order now in Sudan? And are the warring military forces, are they doing nothing to stop them?
So yes, this is actually a good point. I mean, even the report specifically tackles acts of sexual violence since the onset of the conflict in April last year. But these forces fighting each other with a long history and a long record of abuses against civilian, facilitated by impunity. We saw, acts of sexual violence in Darfur in the conflict. We saw the acts of sexual violence committed by security forces in the last few years. And that's definitely continued to be seen here. We are not seeing any evidence, and that's what we established in this report, that any of the commanders in the Sudanese Armed Forces or the Rapid Support Forces are taking any credible measures to prevent, to investigate, or to punish these crimes. And this is exactly the point around us exposing them and pointing to the widespread nature that these heinous crimes are taking place in the capital.
There has been multiple reports of ethnic cleansing, particularly but not only just in the Darfur region. Do you think, is it possible sexual violence is a part of that? Might women be raped because of their ethnicity?
So absolutely, we did find that in the previous investigation in West Darfur, which we found a campaign of ethnic cleansing targeted a specific ethnic group of Masalit. We did find cases of sexual violence, including rape, that specifically targeted these women because of who they are. In some cases, because their activism. In other cases, because of their, being relative to someone that they wanted. Coming back to the capital, I mean, ethnicity may not necessarily play a role, but it is there. I mean, there are cases we heard of sexually targeting women who are refugees, namely from Ethiopia and Eritrea, for example.
So the country is in the throes of genocide. There's famine, which we haven't even mentioned, and obviously there's civil war. For civilians who are living there, is there any hope of a better future?
So the report, in some ways, really offers this horrific glimpse into our life in the capital. The capital is a place which used to host over 7-8 million people, half of that number now being forcibly displaced. Those who remain in the capital are trapped into checkpoints, exposed and vulnerable to abuses, the skyrocketing prices of commodities, given the ongoing obstruction of needed and essential aid, especially by the Sudanese Armed Forces, but also the Rapid Support Forces' constant looting of warehouses and medical supplies and markets as well. So people are, in a way, in a de facto siege in the capital. And there is a very little hope. And this is, again, why we're asking and urging the international community to act, because we are not seeing that sense of urgency from the global community yet.
Mohamed, I really do appreciate you coming on. It's so important to shed some light and inform people as much as possible on the absolutely horrific conditions that people are having to endure there in Sudan. That's Mohamed Osman, my guest. He's from the Africa division of Human Rights Watch.